Well, it's another let's get ready for lawnmower repairs day. What I mean by that is when it rains, nobody contacts me needing their lawnmower repaired. But as soon as it's over and it's ready to, it's dried out a little bit and everybody's ready to start mowing grass, then everybody needs their lawnmowers fixed. So it's, if it's raining, people are going to get the lawnmowers fixed. I'm really excited about how much rain we're getting this year. And the well is not getting all contaminated and dirty because we're not getting these flooding rains. We're getting these all-day drizzles like this. This one's actually a little bit harder than some of the previous ones we've had for the last 2 or 3 days. But at least it's raining. That's good. So, can't hear the generator through the rain. I think it's running. That is the downside. It uses more gas. So, speaking of water, what a transition that was. The other day I mentioned that we needed to replace our Berky filters. Now we have a spare pair of filters. Had them for about 5 years now. They've been sitting up in the closet area behind the shower ever since we bought that set. I've always had a backup set. So when we traveled, Berky was absolutely fantastic. I had Berky I don't know, 2 or 3 years prior to actually traveling. And the Berky was a lifesaver. I mean, there was some of that water that was just so nasty. When we went to Florida, we got to a water site and it was just rusted. I don't even know if it was rusted. It was like, I don't know what it was. But anyway, it was bad. So I took an old set and made a bucket Berky. I used buckets and made my own Berky as a pre-filter because the water was so nasty that I was afraid that we were going to clog up the new filter. So I used the old filters and I would just constantly keep it full of water, non-stop. And it dripped real slow. So the entire winter that we got to stay there, that bucket was just full of water. And then I take the bottom bucket and fill up the Berky to refilter anything the old filters might have leaked through. And then we went to South Dakota and we took water out of a stream and filtered that. And then in Utah, which was more significant because that's all we lived on was that stream water. And I would pre-filter it kind of like I do out here with my little house filters. I'd pre-filter. We got a little bit more advanced and pre-filtered it through the house filters. And then I would take that water and we'd put it through the Berky. And we never ever had any problems. And it was the Berky advertised that it would remove bacteria, but not viruses. There's some viruses, so it was a little risky. But what we would do is take a little bleach and pour it in the bucket. That I was, like I said, I do a little pre-filter, so I put it in the empty bucket, and then I'd run that water into the bucket, through the pre-filter and into the bucket. So now it's chlorinated. And then I would take that bucket of chlorinated water, put it in the Berky, and the Berky would remove chlorine. So it was even safe. The viruses and the bacteria and everything was getting killed. Well, now, Berky doesn't claim to remove bacteria. What has happened is the government has gotten involved with Berky. There were so many people who were just so aggravated with Berky. Oh, it's false advertising, all that stuff. And so the government got involved. And so people who liked Berky, like me, and I didn't need someone to tell me whether the Berky was working or not. I didn't need a government entity. I didn't need YouTubers to tell me, oh, it's not doing what they said. I mean, there was one guy a couple years ago. Oh, I've just been so stressed with Berky. I've been making these videos, and it's just been so stressful dealing with Berky. Dude, relax. I mean, I'm kind of a stressed out person myself, so I understand stress, but I'm not going to let the Berky stress me out. I mean, it may have stressed me out there in the road if I'd have realized, one time Berky did not work for us. We were in Texas by an oil field, and there were just tons of these oil pumps. And I don't know if something got into the water, something leaked and got into groundwater, but it was terrible, absolutely terrible. And so we filtered the Berky, or used the Berky to filter water, and I tasted a little. It was a little less. It was barely there, I guess I should say. You could still taste it a little bit, but I didn't really acknowledge it in my head. And then I got a little bit sick, and I realized there was something wrong with the water. So then I started testing the unpure, unfiltered water, comparing it to the filtered water, and I realized, there's something in the water. So we never went back to that campground again. We did really well. Now, the thing is, with the Berky, there was a couple problems we had. One, we were filtering really dirty water. And the other thing is, there was a risk that our filters were freezing. You're not supposed to let them freeze. So we would change them out every year. Now, that was $140 every year that we were spending on water, and that was really expensive. I hated that kind of cost. So after the oil incident, we realized, well, it's been about a year since we changed the Berky. So we changed out the filter, and we tested the old filters, and sure enough, you used red dye, and it was letting the water, the red go through. So they were already wore out. So it may have been that the Berky filters were wore out and just couldn't remove whatever it was that was in the water. Maybe the new filters would have done a better job. I don't know. But I've always been very impressed with Berky, very happy with it. Never had any complaints until now. So we just changed out our filters, and you can see that they were getting a little messed up. I don't know if you can see that in the dark like this, but down here it was getting kind of wore out from all the cleaning. We clean them twice a year now that we're here. But these filters are 5.5 years old. I don't know if you can see the color difference. I can't see it. Right there, yeah. So there's an obvious color difference. I took a knife and scraped that off at the top part. That's what you're seeing. That was clean. But this is what it was doing. And they were still filtering. They were still doing okay. But it slowed down quite a bit. And when Carolyn saw that, she said, she's going to change it. So I started looking for new Berky filters because we're getting ready to use the set that we have stored away. And I always like having 2 sets. And I went to my regular website that I always go to buy them. And like I said, it's been 5 years. And there was no website. It was gone. I even saved the link, so I knew I was going to the right spot. So then I started checking other distributors of Berky filters, and all of them were sold out. Every one of them was sold out. You had to buy the tank in order to buy the filter. So I went to Amazon and I typed in Berky, and they had a set for $300. So that's more than double what we were paying 5 years ago. And I knew prices were going to go up, but I didn't realize it was going to be double. So I kind of panicked. I was like, uh-oh. Like that guy who was so stressed about Berky. I didn't get to that level yet. But what I did notice is there are other filters out there. And a lot of them were $140 and, reasonable price. And I was thinking, well, yeah, we could get that. But then I saw a filter called Water Drop. Now, it's compatible with Berky, or you can get Water Drop King tanks. It's called King, K-I-N-G, King. And so everybody loves the tank, but we already got the tank, so I don't need another tank. But these were compatible. And so I went down to the reviews, and I started looking for it. These were $42. And I thought, man, these got to be junk. But the reviews were almost as good as Berky. Percentage-wise, it was as good as Berky. But it had fewer 5 stars but more 4 stars. So Berky was just the opposite, more 5 stars and fewer 4 stars. And when I'm looking at reviews, I tried to look to see that the filters are above 80%, or the reviews are above 80%, between 5 and 4. So 5, it may be 76%. If you can get 4% out of the 4 stars, that means it's 80%. So I just added the percentages of the 2, 5 and 4 stars. And again, Berky, when I did that, I took the 5 and 4 stars and added them together. Berky and Water Drop were close. I think Water Drop was a little bit less, but regardless, one of the big complaints about Water Drop is they kept saying water is filtering too fast. It's going through the filters too fast. But I don't see that as the problem. I understand the I don't know. I guess people just thought that was bad, and so that they got a few less stars because of that complaint. I don't think that's a bad thing, because when you get on YouTube and they start talking about it, they actually talk about it as a good thing. And so they do testing on YouTube and all kinds of things, just like they do with Berky all the time. And that's how I got kind of in love with Berky, with people going out the streams and filtering water. This was years ago. I mean, we're talking 10, maybe 15 years ago. And people run out of streams, filter water, and giving the water to the kids and testing it on YouTube. So that's how I got so trustworthy of Berky. Well, then, same thing's happening with Water Drop. There's not near as many reviews of Water Drop. So we went ahead and bought them for $42. I thought, what the heck? Or Carolyn thought, what the heck? I was actually a little concerned about buying them, but she said, let's try them for 42 bucks. What difference does it make? If they don't work, well, you know, we've spent $42 for things that we didn't need before. And that's true. So we bought them. And so far, they seem to do really well. The water tastes great. Water goes through in about 40 minutes, 3 gallons, 40 minutes, maybe less than that. I think they can do 4 gallons an hour. So, I mean, it's pretty fast. And I can't say enough about it. I saw one gal on YouTube Shorts. She took bath water. Now, with Berky, I accidentally filtered soapy water through the Berky, and you could taste the soap. That was years ago. We were in South Dakota. I don't even remember how I accidentally did it. Maybe Carolyn and I got confused or something. But we tried to save some of our used water for different things. You know, washing the countertop, you can use the soapy water. But anyway, so somehow or another, I got soapy water in the Berky. And we drank it. I could taste the soap. So, this woman saying she tested bath water. Well, there's got to be soap in bath water. And she said she had 2 Berky, or 2 of these Water Drop Kings. And so she tested bath water through it, and she tested the regular water. She ran water through her second one, and she said she couldn't taste the difference. So that gave me a little bit of boost of confidence. But it basically advertises the same thing as Berky, although there are some certifications with the Water Drop that Berky doesn't have, NSF and I don't know, you know, the certifications. So, you know, they talk about chlorinated water, and good taste is what it's certified for. Regardless, I think that we're in pretty good shape. We've been drinking it for about, I don't know, maybe a week and a half now, and I'm not feeling any ill effects. Not saying we should. You know, our water's probably pretty clean anyways. Like I said, the Berky filters lasted 5 years, which is a lot better than what it did when we were on the road. So I'm not. Here's the thing. Got a comment last night. You said that Berky was the only thing you'd ever use. And now I went out and bought it, and now look at this. You're telling us that that's not even good enough for you anymore. Quit changing your mind. You need to stick to a thing. Well, I would have bought the Berky. I really would have. I had no reason not to buy the Berky. I couldn't afford it. $300 is way over what I want to pay. I would have went with one of the other name brands, the $150 ones. But like Carolyn said, let's give this a try. So, no. The thing is I'm not the kind of guy who's going to say, oh, no, I'm a one-time, I have a thought, I'm not going to grow that thought, I'm not going to try to improve it, I'm not going to change my mind, even if it's a bad idea. And that's what people's problem is. They have an idea, and this is what they're going to do. They are stuck on it. They're not willing to learn anything else. I'm quite proud that we were able to figure out, and what we're going to do is, well, she wants to buy one set a month for a few months, just so we can have a stockpile of them. And she wants to change them out every year, which is kind of a good idea. I mean, you know, we really pushed the Berky, because they're so expensive, to last at least 3 years. That's what we wanted. We got 5 out of it, and it's just, you know, for 42 bucks, sure, let's do one a year. If they, you know, are still going, maybe a year and a half, something like that. So I don't see the point of everybody chewing me, or one person chewing me out because I didn't stick to a Berky. You're a traitor. Well, then Berky. Here's the thing: is Berky got sued so many times. I think it finally caught up with them. I don't know. I find it frustrating that Berky got beat up so bad. I think I said this at the beginning of the video. It is none of those YouTubers' business is trying to put Berky out of business because they're so stressed about it. when I wanted the product. It's you know, you get 200,000 views, and you know, I remember when he made that video years ago. People were coming on my channel. I thought you said Berky was good, but this guy says they're terrible. Well, what makes this guy smarter than me? So I don't know. It just it aggravated me. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video on my other channel. It's a brand new video today. I hope you check it out. So if I can inspire you to change your mind occasionally, so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.